So I'll warn you guys, I am a little bit slow sometimes in thinking, so you have to tolerate that if you want to watch this video. But I'll talk to you guys about what the internet was like back in the beginning. Really, the first time I was ever introduced to anything that was net type based was Prodigy, and it was super expensive, and nobody would go on it because it was charged by the hour and all this other stuff, and it was terrible. It didn't do much. Basically gave you the weather and stuff like that. It was like really, I just kind of looked at it and I went, oh wow, that's nothing. And then in the 90s, in the mid 90s, at about 95, I actually was active in the Chamber of Commerce, and a guy said, hey man, this internet's coming up and it's going to be the biggest thing ever. And I'm like, oh, okay. So it was like around 95 or 96. And so I went over to his house, and he showed me, to log in on the internet, you use the modem and whatnot. And we'd go on the internet, and he showed me all these different things in these search engines. And back then, probably the biggest search engine was Alta Vista, which the reason I'm on this page is Yahoo ended up buying them. And their page is no longer existent. I just looked it up. But Alta Vista was basically a search engine that you could search on things, and they were really terrible because it would search based on words, and it wasn't search, and it wouldn't put it together the way that Google does now. And I'll go over that in a minute. And then it just didn't, you'd have to go through pages and pages and pages of stuff to find out something you were looking for. Because the stuff that was at the top, typically, it was weird. It was, if you had the same word in the web page, more and more times, then it would come up further on the search engine. There was a whole algorithm of different things that made that work. I'm not sure exactly how it was done, but anyway, it was really hard to find something on the internet. And the internet was, and everybody was saying back then that it's going to be the biggest thing ever. And at that point, I could see it was going to be a good 20 years before it was ever going to be anything, because basically, there was no, everybody goes, oh, you're going to buy everything off the internet. The Amazon was there, but all they did was sell books. And I thought, well, that was actually a pretty good idea. And I thought Amazon had a good idea that they were selling books off the internet, because honestly, you could probably sell a book off the internet and it would probably work out pretty good. And it was, and then they said that they're going to start selling everything little by little. And they started selling other items besides books. And then it just grew from there and became this huge thing that it is now. And distribution, I never would have thought back then that they were going to set up their own distribution system that was actually going to be bigger than like UPS and FedEx and stuff like that. So that was just unforeseen. But that's kind of why the stocks at that point in the 90s all took off, and there was all this internet hype. And it was actually really expensive and really slow. So you go onto internet and say, now you see all these videos and pictures and everything else. And a lot of us would disable all the videos and pictures. So you would turn it all off because it took so long for those pages to load up that it would take you literally like 5 minutes to load up your page. So we would turn off all you could go in your settings and you could turn it off, which was in Netscape. Netscape was the internet browser back then. And then they started putting browsers on the computer when you bought them. And then they considered that a monopoly. But by then it was already too late for Netscape. That's why they went out of business, or whatever happened to them. I don't know. But we used to go on Netscape and go on the internet and try and search for things, but we turn off all the pictures and all that stuff, because like I said, you could search for something and you could find it, but it would, it was like 10 or 15, you have to go to 10 or 15 different websites because the searching was so bad. And then they came out with Google. And, the other thing, it was Yahoo was pretty big right in there, because Yahoo, because what they did is they had more of a social platform search engine, where it had search, it had like chat, it had like Yahoo Chat, you had news, all that stuff was on their search. So it was kind of interesting. A lot of people were going to Yahoo because of that, and that's why Yahoo went so big in the beginning. But the reason that Google became so good is because you would search for something and you would usually get it right away. Now, when you're running a 56K modem and it takes you 5 minutes to log onto the internet, and it takes you 10 or 15 different times of searching for something to get what you were looking for, the information you were looking for, which was, I told people back then that it's going to be the information-based stuff that's going to be big first. And I don't know if the other things ever will be. And I was pretty much right until now. Until the distribution center system for Amazon has gotten so good that they can be really competitive. It's almost cheaper to buy it on Amazon and have it delivered to your door than it actually is to go to the store and drive to the store and pay for gas. So, but anyway, I was going to say is back to the other thing is, Yahoo was really popular at first because of the social area of it, but the ads were really irritating. And Google came up with basically just this. They just had just Google. It wouldn't have anything else, and there wasn't any of this stuff or anything. It just said just Google, and it would have. You could go on their search and you would put in for something that you were looking for, and usually it was on the first page. So, and that's really what everybody wanted. They use, I don't know what the system algorithm and all that stuff was, and I forget what it was because I was aware of it back then, but it actually just made it so that you could usually find what you wanted on the first page. So a lot of us all switched to using Google. In fact, it became the most popular search engine very quickly on the internet, and people who were watching. And for years, I still always used Yahoo because I had some attachment to that through chats and things like that I was on, different chat rooms. So a lot of people were going on chat rooms, and there was another thing that people used, and I don't even know if it's still there. And we would go on chat, and you'd meet somebody on chat, and then if you got to know them and you liked them and trusted them, then you would invite them to your ICQ. So you'd go into ICQ chat. I don't even know if it's still on here. Let's see. Yeah, it's still here, but it's all, of course, all completely different. An ICQ basically was a little pop-up that, and when you logged into the internet, it would be a little pop-up. And if you had friends that were on your ICQ, what would happen is you'd hear this little, ow, and there would be like a little thing that would show so-and-so is online. So you could go over here and chat with them directly versus going to the other thing. Now, a lot of us go, well, God, wouldn't you just use, video-based chats or call them on the phone? At that time, a long-distance phone call just to Canada was 25 cents a minute. So it was really cheap to use ICQ. There was not enough bandwidth to run any kind of video or voice operated system unless you were really good at some sort of binary coding and stuff like that. And there was a couple of them out there that you could use, but at the time I only had a 14.4 modem, and my friends had, because a 56K modem was over $100, and that was a lot of money back then to me. And a computer was $1,000. and that was like, might as well say $10,000 now. And it was just like, it was really, really expensive. And thank God too that that Microsoft stole Mac's idea of using icon-based, uh, platform, because it really made the computers available to everyone. So otherwise, there wouldn't be anybody on, if Mac had control of, Apple had control of the pricing, there would be no computers today. So anyway, just thought I'd get that out there real quick, so all people get mad and say, oh, they stole their stuff. It's like, yeah, they did, and it did the greatest thing ever. It got computers to everyone. So, but anyway, that was the old back in the day thing. But anyway, so you'd have your ICQ would tell you when somebody was online, so you could chat with them. There was all this flashing picture. Flash came out later, and most of us would disable it. We would turn it off in our settings, because then again, if you wanted to watch it, you could click on the icon. There was a little icon in the corner of the picture, and you could click on that, and then that would bring the picture up if you wanted to, and it'd be like click, 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 like this. The picture would start loading up like this really slowly. You could see it. So it was really, really slow. So, we were mostly looking for information, and that's why there was such a big push in the beginning, is people thought the internet was going to go really, really quickly, and it was going to go really fast, and people would go online, and that's why the stocks went crazy. And, the internet stocks all of a sudden flopped because there was nothing there to, it was so slow that it wasn't to the point where it is now. And, where you have everything was on a modem. You didn't just, log into a network and go online. And, today it's just totally different. It's not even the same. I mean, the old internet was just like typing and reading. There was no, you didn't get, all this video and visual stuff, and there was no YouTube. There was none of that stuff. You couldn't even watch a video, upload a video from online, because it would take you 2 hours to upload it, and then you'd watch it and it would be all pieced up and everything else. So it was the only thing that was good for was typing. And so if you weren't a fast typer, if you weren't fast at typing, and the other person wasn't fast at typing, there was no interaction. It wouldn't be fun. So, a lot of us with our 3-finger peck, back in the old days, that's how the computer techs always typed. None of them had, full hands and all that stuff. We didn't do that. Now you do, pretty much everybody knows how to type. But, it was just, it was just like, you go as quick as you could, and you could make a conversation with somebody, and then there was none of these little shortcuts or word things. Now it's all like, basically it was texting of the old days. So we used to do it on the computer instead of on the phone. You couldn't do that on your phone. I did have a cell phone back then, and it was about 6 of the ones that I have now, and it was $1 or so a minute if you needed it, and it was only for emergencies. So you couldn't have a conversation on it. There was no, you just would say, hey, what's up, real quick, and ask somebody something, and you say, hey, listen, I gotta go back to work, and everybody knew you're on your cell, so they would just get off the phone right away, and then you didn't give out your number to anyone. So anyway, that's kind of a little lesson on the internet, what it was like and how it progressed and became today. I've seen it just grow to craziness, and it was not. It was the reason it became popular is because people wanted it to be popular, and it wasn't because it was convenient and easy. It was actually really, really inconvenient and very, very slow. So but it did give you the ability to research things. You couldn't book a flight online. I had to book flights through a travel agent. You couldn't do any of that stuff. It was too slow. So anyway, that's it for the internet. I'll talk to you in the next video. Please like, share, and subscribe.